What's up, guys? It's your boy Rich here. So the original Dirty Dozen pilot watches served a purpose. They were easily legible, they needed to be reliable. There wasn't any luxurious appeal to them. So what happens when DuFrane Watches reinterprets the pilot's watch that is now luxurious, uses some real gold, and is a throwback to the vintage pilot's watches? Let's go check it out. Let's go. And here it is in 41.5 millimeters, 51 from lug to lug, 11 millimeters tall, and it's with a 22 millimeter lug width. And I'm just really excited about the Bergstrom Cinq. And yes, we are supposed to retain a certain level of objectiveness when we're talking about the watch, but I'm human, I'm a watch enthusiast, and I'm acknowledging how excited I am about the Bergstrom Cinq. So spoiler alert, it is an easy recommend. But I do have to continue with the review portion of the watch rather than saying, thumbs up, go purchase this, good night, and thank you. So why don't we start with the reverse of the watch rather than starting off with the case and the dial? Because look at that movement. That is just a gorgeous, mouth-watering movement here. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at the manual wound at a 6498 with 46 hours of power reserve, plenty of blue screws, ruby, and Geneva striping. But I wanted to show you something else, a super nice level of detail. So on the plating there, on their logo, that is not gold plating, gold coloring, PVD, whatever we want to call it, that's fake, because that is solid 18 karat gold. Granted, it is not a huge amount, probably not enough to satisfy most members of the hip-hop community, but that is solid 18 karat gold and just a really nice touch that I have not come across before. Just you know, this whole movement here is a work of art and really easy to stare at, and knowing that there is some solid gold in there, just it's sort of really comforting and just something really cool about that. So now let's talk about the, you know what, let's get another glimpse of that movement. I really can't stop staring at that movement, but we do have to continue with the rest of the watch. So I do like the font style for the numerals, and there is the Flieger style logo at 12 o'clock, and this is DuFrane's interpretation of the pilot's watch, and I think it is a good one. You know, the dial I thought might have been enamel at first, but after speaking with Steven, the owner of DuFrane Watches, it is not enamel, but it does have that effect. And my favorite portion of the dial is the sub-dial at 6 o'clock. It's the sub-dial for the seconds hand, but it's what they call the horizons, and it has the pilot's view on there. I just really like that touch a lot. And so while this version is in black, they also have a white version, and if you don't prefer the horizons look, the white version has the same sub-dial seconds hand without the horizons, just the working seconds hand. The entire case of this model is done in a nicely polished finishing, and I think DuFrane did a really nice job on the finishing. Another unique component of the case is this coin-style bezel, and I realize that isn't going to be for everyone. For me, I am in the camp where I like the coin-style bezel. I find it rather unique. The crown is signed, and as I'm showing you the different angles of the case and the lugs, we might notice the unique holes that are in the lugs that we're going to use to change the straps, and I'll cover more of that in a moment. So from the side profile, the lugs slope downwards at the very end, really helping to soften the look, because from the front of the watch, the lugs almost look like they're just straight out. So I do like the way that this whole case comes together. The case, the dial, and the hands are made in China. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because DuFrane Watches is a legitimate American watch company based in Austin, Texas. And to put that into perspective, we know that our Swiss-made watches, only 60% of that needs to be manufactured in Switzerland, and that leaves 40%, or nearly half, of our Swiss-made watches that can come from elsewhere. So guess what? The same cases, dials, and hands on our Swiss-made watches will come from the same source. I'm sorry if that disappoints anyone, but it's true, and there isn't anything wrong with that. In fact, DuFrane is so transparent about where they, what components they source from which countries. The movement, the sapphire crystals front and back, and the loom are Swiss made. So DuFrane sources some of the components from the higher quality places with the quality components here. So again, I wanted to put that into perspective because to get a made in USA label, the guidelines are very strict. The entire product needs to be made in the USA and manufactured in the USA, with the exception of the box or presentation, because according to the guidelines, the box doesn't have anything to do with the product. So the box can be made in China or Mexico or Canada, and that won't affect the product if the product is actually made in the USA. DuFrane is not deceptive in any way. There isn't anything on the dial with any creative writing that alludes to an American or made in USA watch. I mean, we know of some brands that get creative with trying to be a little deceptive with that. DuFrane, that's not the case with DuFrane. So what parts of the watch do they incorporate as an American-made watch? Well, they use a lot of the Austin, Texas, with a lot of pride that they insert into the watch. And so let's talk about some of the American-made components of the watch. But before I do want to continue to talk about the American-made theme. DuFrane watches are designed in Austin, Texas, but they are also QC'd and assembled in the U.S., specifically in Ohio. And then they go back to Austin for final QC checks by Steven, the owner of DuFrane Watches. So to me, if a watch is employing U.S. workers and is being assembled in the U.S. and QC'd in the U.S., that to me, at least, is enough to be an American-made watch. And DuFrane is not claiming that, but that's just how I personally feel when I know exactly what is being done in the U.S. versus not. So now let's talk about the American components of a DuFrane watch. Starting with this nice leather strap. It has this nice vintage or burnished effect to it, and the buckle is signed right there. And that's because this strap is a Horween strap from Chicago, Illinois. So now let's talk about some other American components that DuFrane uses, starting with the hang tag. Who thinks about a hang tag, right? Except with DuFrane, it says Jack Allen's Kitchen, and it is handwritten. And I had no idea what this was until I Googled them. And Jack Allen's Kitchen is a restaurant establishment in, you guessed it, Austin, Texas. So I thought maybe that might have been Steven's favorite restaurant in Austin. So when I communicated with Steven explained that he actually puts different places to visit to visit while you're in Austin while wearing your DuFrane watches. So I think that is a really cool touch. I think it's just a nice sentimental reason, because our watches are all about stories and memories. So I think that is really cool to be able to visit a place in Austin that is recommended by Steven or DuFrane Watches while wearing our DuFrane watches. So another really cool element. So now let's talk about the presentation that our DuFrane watches come in. So here it says DuFrane Watches 505. So 505 is because these are limited editions. So it will also match that on the case right there, nicely and tastefully engraved right above the leather strap where it says 505. On the back of the leather presentation, it says Noah Marion Quality Goods, made in the USA. So again, keeping in theme with the American elements is what DuFrane continues to do very consistently and transparently. So let's check out the goodies that comes in the leather packaging. It comes as a tool to change the leather straps. And speaking of leather straps, it comes with this blue suede strap right here. So let's take a look at it on the brown strap or the blue strap. Brown, blue. I actually like it on the brown strap better. In addition to the extra strap, it comes with the warranty card that you would expect, along with a cleaning cloth. And see these tools right there? Really cool, because these are Allen wrenches. And earlier I showed you the unique holes on the lugs. So this is how we would change out the straps, just right here. Just really cool. You know, I think just holding an Allen wrench, it makes me feel like I should be doing some chores today or this weekend. I feel like a very useful handyman. Just a really nice touch with the Allen wrench. Another great touch by DuFrane. You might recall when I said this at the top of the video, and I'm acknowledging how excited I am about the Bergstrom Cinq. So spoiler alert, it is an easy recommend. And I still stand by that. The Bergstrom Cinq is just exceptionally well crafted inside and out, and it utilizes top quality components, again, inside and out. And the retail price of the Bergstrom Cinq is $12.99. So for about $1,300, we are getting a nice interpretation of the pilot's watch that I find both elegant and classy, yet sporty at the same time. I really like its size proportions, as I think it is appropriate for any situation. And again, look at that fantastic movement. So I just got done saying what the retail price is, but I almost forgot to show the postcard that comes with the watch for best practices. But on the back of the postcard, along the bottom, it says 10% discount anytime with Watch Fam 10. And DuFrane Watches did not tell me otherwise, so if I'm wrong, I'm sure I will get an earful from DuFrane, but I also have a feeling that they would honor that. And in the meantime, I'm really enjoying their Bergstrom Cinq. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you the next time. So the retail price of the the Bergstrom Cinq. Yep. So what happens when DuFrane watches, DuFrane